There is allegedly a video going around TikTok that I have yet to confirm is the original, but basically it's the topic if all men fantasize about their female friends. And what does that mean? Like, are you doing something unethical by not getting the consent of somebody if you masturbate to them? Are we, what does that mean? Because like, if you have a crush on someone, is it weird to go home and masturbate to the idea of them? That's the conversation. We have lots of TikToks to watch, well, a few TikToks to watch about it. And then about ethical gooning. So let's watch this one first.
Expect ourselves never to have the odd. What does it mean to fantasize? I think it would be unfair for us to expect ourselves never to have the odd, fleeting, intrusive thought about somebody in a sexual or romantic manner. But I wouldn't say that that's fantasizing. I think fantasization is more of an active choice. It's hooking on to that initial intrusive thought and letting it play out in a active fantasy. Now, might some people find this harder to resist than others? Yeah, I think so. To use myself as an example, I wouldn't say that I ever was really into having deep sexual fantasies in my mind, but for a long time, my primary way of reading people was on whether or not they fancied me. Who knows where this came from? Maybe it's just a me thing, maybe it's partly patriarchy, primarily seeing my value as whether or not I'm fanciable. And maybe it's a side effect of kind of pretty early on figuring out that I was charismatic and magnetic and, flirting with people was pretty easy. Whatever it was, for a long time, that was primarily how I read people in a situation. Do they fancy me or not? And when you're in that mindset, when that's kind of constantly humming in your head, it's easy to get in the habit of kind of testing boundaries a little bit. So even if I was at a relationship, let's say I'm at a party and, my partner isn't there, I might have been thinking, oh, does this person fancy me, don't they? And I would kind of test that boundary, do a bit of flirting to find out for myself whether or not they did. And, I would say that's a bit of a risky game to play, to be honest. But, I was young, I was in my 20s.
Hold on, let me re-listen to that.
Does this person fancy me, don't? Constantly humming in your head. It's easy to get in the habit of kind of testing boundaries a little bit. So even if I was at a relationship, let's say I'm at a party and, my partner isn't there, I might have been thinking, oh, does this person fancy me, don't they? And I would kind of test that boundary, do a bit of flirting to find out for myself whether or not they did. And
that validation seeking is pretty dangerous. Like, I also think it's like deeply unethical. I get it being in your 20s. Like, there are so many things I did in my early 20s that I would never even think about doing now. Like, I'm so much more healed. I'm so much more educated. I just never would do these things that like now that I did then. And also it's about pushing those boundaries and testing those waters. And I think there's something to be said about like, do we understand the difference between testing things and why we're doing things? And also that's why I say like at certain ages, you should be reaching milestones. So you kind of know like where it's inappropriate and eventually grow out of being curious. Because like when you're a kid and you're curious, we expect you to be because you don't know and you're figuring it out. But when you're 45 and you're still pushing boundaries, it's like, hey, why didn't you figure this out? Right?
I would say that's a bit of a risky game to play, to be honest. But, I was young, I was in my 20s. Life's about figuring this stuff out, right? So, flipping it back to sexual fantasization, I am well aware that most men are introduced to online sexual content at a very young age. I think the average age is like 10 now. And it wouldn't surprise me if therefore their primary way of reading women is to sexually objectify them. So it's a bit different from my thing. It's not even about figuring out do they fancy me or do they not. It's more like appraising them. Are they fanciable? Use a slightly different F word for fancy there. And to a certain degree, I have empathy with that because it's part of your social coding and it's something that probably got embedded into you very young. However, once you become conscious of something like this, you have two choices. You can either shrug your shoulders and be like, oh yeah, all men fantasize about their female friends, or you can actually try and actively change your inner world. There is a difference between having the odd fleeting thought and letting it play out into a fantasy. That is a choice. That is a behaviour. Now, at the end of the day, your partner can't thought police you. Maybe it's enough for you to have those fantasies and then never act on them. But I think it probably is cutting you off from having friendships with people of the opposite sex because you haven't found a way to regulate that. You haven't found a way to stop that process. For me, I would say that censor hasn't exactly gone away. Like, I could probably go to a party and figure out pretty quickly who fancies me and who doesn't. But I've stopped investing in it. I've stopped paying attention to it and putting my time, energy and effort into it. It's no longer important to me. It's just a thing that's in my brain that I can say, okay, thanks, but no thanks. And I fully believe that if you are a man who finds it hard to not fantasize about all the women in your life, you can do that. It is going to take effort and it is going to take belief from you to do it. But you can do it. You can do it. Of course you could do it.
Now, okay, I don't think this is the original TikTok that's going around, but I'm going to show you two people responding to the same topic who are kind of like very passionate about it, but from a different perspective. So again, I cannot find what I think might be the original video, and nobody is stitching it. So now I'm wondering if it like does it even exist? But here are two examples. I'm going to go to the man first and then the woman second. But here's a man's perspective on this idea of thought crimes. Okay.
Perhaps I'm not as woke as I think I am, okay? And I have a lot of women mutuals who I respect and frankly think are smarter than me. So if any of you see this and feel like I'm missing something, feel free to enlighten me, okay? I'm open to critique. That being said, I think all of this discourse about men getting off to pictures of women that aren't in an explicitly sexual manner is a bunch of nonsense, okay? And further, I think the video that sparked all this, the girl who drummed up all this discourse unintentionally, she conflated an issue with that act, okay? And let's tackle that video first, because I happened to see it before all this discourse kicked off. It's this girl talking.
I cannot find this video. Has anyone seen this video? I tried Googling, I tried searching, I looked up a bunch. I'm like, who is this girl they're talking about?
How she found out her boyfriend had a folder full of screenshots from her friend's Instagrams that he was using.
Okay, but listen to the details. Listen to the details.
The girl who drummed up all this discourse unintentionally, she conflated an issue with that act, okay? And let's tackle that video first, because I happened to see it before all this discourse kicked off. It's this girl talking about how she found out her boyfriend had a folder full of screenshots from her friend's Instagrams that he was using to get off to. And he got those screenshots via talking to her about her friends, then asking for their Instagrams under the guise of wanting to be more sociable with them, because you want to be friends with your partner's friends. You want to have a cordial relationship, right? So she was like, why not? This is innocent enough. He's a good guy. And then she found out later down the road that he had this folder in his phone and that he was getting off to them, right? And I feel like the real issue there isn't the act of getting off to women whose pictures aren't in an explicitly sexual manner. The issue there is that he violated her trust, right? That's the issue. And also the issue that he's getting off to her friends. That's weird, right? To get off to your girlfriend's friends is odd behavior. And maybe she does have an issue with him just getting off to other women in general, but that's a relationship by relationship, case by case kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? That's between you and your partner. All right. But the act itself, I'm sorry, you guys sound insane. You guys sound insane saying you need consent from somebody else to find them attractive, be aroused, and then do something about it. You know what I'm saying? And that's not to say that I do that. That's not to say that I don't think it's a little bit strange to do that to somebody you consider a friend, or to not just shoot your shot in that instance if you really feel that strongly about it. You know what I'm saying? But if somebody's doing that in the privacy of their own home, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's literally none of your business. They don't need any consent to do that. What are we talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like, God forbid you find somebody attractive. Do women need consent anytime the waterworks get going when they see a Pedro Pascal fan cam, and it's not him in a sex scene, it's not even him in a movie, it's just him in an interview, just crossing his legs, just being Pedro Pascal, you know what I'm saying? Like, do you guys need consent for that action? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we talking about? That's how nonsensical you sound. You know what I'm saying? Like, it'd be one thing if we were talking about, oh, a girl posted her fit pic for the day on IG, right? And then there's guys in the comments being like, oh my God, look at your curves, look at your big voluptuous breasts, you're so beautiful, right? That's sexual harassment then, right? Like, you're sexualizing this person to their face, right? Then you're making it a them issue, right? Or if a guy saw a girl walking down the street, made eye contact with her and just started stroking the shit, right? That's sexual harassment. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a guy seeing something online, getting aroused, and dealing with it in the privacy of his own home. Nobody else is involved, just him and his screen. What does he need consent for? What are you guys talking about? You sound insane. You sound absolutely insane. You know what I'm saying? Like, my generation and the generation immediately under me, y'all need to really work on your relationship with sex, because it's getting fucking weird. It's getting weird so fast. You know what I'm saying? Like, God forbid you can't find people fucking attractive now? What are we talking about? What are we actually talking about? You all sound so insane with this discourse. Please, I need y'all to get a grip.
Okay, so let me see if I can find this. I came across my feed. I cannot believe for my job I am typing this into fucking TikTok right now. Is it called a thirst trap? Is that what it's called? Isn't that what it's called? There is this video that I saw of a girl opening up a gift from a friend where it was like a flag of all these pictures of Hassan. And I was like, what are you doing, girl? Get a grip. Get a grip, girls. And it's just like, I get it, but like also like so unnecessary. Obviously, there's all these like thirst cam fan cams of Hassan, but you know what I mean? Like, we get it. He's cute, but like, please get a job. Do you know what I mean? You guys cannot be out here making posters of Hassan. You're too goddamn old. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't do this past high school. You cannot have pictures of boys on your wall past high school. Do you know what I'm saying? I can't find it. But there is something to be said that I think like is missing from people. Like, you're supposed to age out of behavior eventually. Okay. So yeah, having like, I'm going to be real. Sometimes on my OF, people will be like, oh my God, this is my screensaver. Why? Like, are you an adult? You need to grow up. You cannot make me your screensaver. Like, you know what I mean? That makes no fucking sense. Like, people think they're complimenting you, but I'm just like, you're a child. Why would you have me as your screensaver? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, not a cute photo, like a sexy, like a inappropriate photo. You know what I'm saying? Like, Come on, guys. Like, it's okay if it's like a picture of me in one of my art photos that you find really cool and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. But if you're like, ooh, yeah, I love having girls, you know, those guys who have like titty photos on their phone as their screensaver. Like, girl, what are you doing? You know what I mean? If it's a horny behavior, it's silly. What are you doing? Okay. So I think there's something to be said about, yes, thought crimes aren't crimes, but I think what you think matters. And I'm not talking about intrusive thoughts. I'm not talking about OCD. I'm not talking about thoughts that feel like they're not yours. I'm talking about the thoughts you make an effort to think. I think they do matter. Okay, the things you find attractive, the things you think about, the things you bring about. I also believe sort of in you think about it, you bring about it. So you have to be kind of, you know, make an effort about what you think about yourself. I mean, gosh, if thinking negatively about myself will impact my mental health, then how do you think the way you think about stuff, including fantasies, isn't going to impact your mental health, right? Now, without being a prude and without being reductive and without being sex negative, we also have to think about the idea that like it's normal. We're biological creatures. Lots of us are masturbating. A lot of us are fantasizing. Also, a lot of us, you know, we think about stuff. We don't have to watch stuff. Some of us watch stuff. We don't think about stuff. Some of us don't imagine anybody. Some of us imagine certain people. Some of us imagine a crush, and some of us just imagine the person we're with. Everybody has a different relationship to what they're imagining when they're masturbating. And, you know, some people, masturbation can be like a bodily function they're doing just to like get it over with. And for some people, sometimes it's like actual sexual arousal. Like, you know, I masturbate half the time when I masturbate, TMI, I masturbate to like work I got to get done tomorrow. Chores I want to get done. Sometimes for me, it is literally just a bodily function. But when your girl is horny, okay, when your girl is like thinking about stuff, often I'm thinking about my partner. That's just the truth. Okay, that's usually what I'm thinking about. Okay, I'm thinking about my partner, or I'm thinking about chores I got to get done tomorrow. Okay, sometimes it's just a bodily function I got to get done with. Okay, like, let's go. I keep the vibrator near the bed. It is what it is. Okay, so, you know, you have your own relationship with masturbation. When I was younger, I think a lot of how my brain works is like, you know how I have to think about eating food before I decide if I want to eat it? Well, sometimes I used to think about like, do I want to have sex with this person before I would like want to engage with a person? So I think sometimes when we meet people, we're like, do I like you? Do I want to kiss you? Can I imagine kissing you? Can I imagine having sex with you? And then it's just like the practice of thinking like, do I want to be with this person? Or do I, you know, that's like another way a neurodivergent brain could work. But I think what we're really concerned about here is the idea that the people in our lives, okay, the people in our lives, this is really the concern, are the people in our lives objectifying us to the point in which when they interact with us, they're being impacted. Okay, are they treating me like a person? Am I being humanized? Am I valued? You know, and this is what's really scary. And let's all just like hold each other's hands through this process because it is so scary. If thought crimes don't matter, are you sure about that? Because what if it's your brother or your father or your sister or your homie or the priest next door or the doctor you're working with or your gynecologist? Are you sure you're not concerned about what they're fantasizing about? Because I'm a bit concerned now. Am I the star of your fantasy? Because now I'm concerned. Now your thoughts are crimes. Okay? So now we have to think about it from that point of view. Is like, yeah, thought crimes aren't thought crimes, but I still care about what you're thinking about. Because like, are you thinking about, because I don't, and that's the fear when you come from conservative backgrounds of don't wear revealing clothes around your fathers and brothers. What are you putting into my head? What corruption are you putting into my head? And by the way, this is a huge generational curse in my family where we're so ashamed of female bodies being like confusing men that there is a lot of insinuation that like, be very careful who you're turning. You have to influence your siblings and your father and everybody for the better, all the men in your family. And it's a pressure little girls feel from like really young, like we're responsible for how these grown men act. And that's the other way that the patriarchy weaponizes, like women are too stupid to be leaders, but 4-year-old little girls contempt grown men. So yeah, your thoughts kind of matter to me. Are your thoughts like, are you thinking about my kid right now, bro? Are you thinking about your niece? Are you thinking about So I do kind of think that it can matter, but generally, let's say it's all good faith. Let's say we're just people at a club. Let's say we just know each other at school. Let's say we're, peers and we really like each other. And you just go home and you think like, oh, I'm kind of into this person right now. I'm going to think about them when I masturbate. Sure, there's nothing inherently wrong with that in that context. The issue becomes the obsession. The issue becomes the taking pictures of them, or honestly, finding their Facebook photos would be crazy to me. That'd be kind of crazy to me. And again, if they sell photos, if they are actually there for that job, if that's a part of their life, you do you. But also like think about it and see if it's really something that's benefiting your life or not benefiting your life. Is this bringing you joy? Right? Like, is this safe for you? Yes, chat. When your parents tell you to change your clothes because your uncle's coming over. Exactly. Bro, if you raise your kids being hyper vigilant about what people are wearing, they're going to be more sex obsessed because they don't understand why you're making it a big deal. And they don't know that because they're not educated about sex and how it works. And they don't understand porn. They're the bubble who really thinks porn. Once you start watching porn, you'll want to go deeper and deeper and more insane. But that's because you were raised in a religious home. Religion is making predators and they don't even know it. You are turning your innocent babies into predators. And I wish Habibis you would understand this. It's seeing it happen in front of my eyes. I want to scream like you are turning your sons into predators and you don't even know it, because there's nothing inherently sexual about the human body. You can live in a completely neutral space with nudity. Keep in mind, I was raised in a zero masturbation bubble. Isn't that crazy? I was raised in a bubble where like, you're not supposed to masturbate. You think that's not going to fuck you up? You think that's not going to fuck you completely up, bro? So you can imagine the people on the internet that are really scared about this are coming from that bubble. That are like, hey, are you guys fucking crazy? We already like came away from those bubbles that were so anti-porn and so anti-masturbation. And now you're sitting here saying not to masturbate to people? Pause. Yes. And there's a difference between being so fucking weirdly religious that you raise your kids to be predators because you don't understand how it works, and the difference between liberating yourself from religion and still respecting the fact that real people exist and you maybe shouldn't create a masturbation folder of your girlfriend's friends, which is crazy. Discourse said, I don't think my parents have ever acknowledged masturbation as a thing exists. Do they give like they pretend it doesn't exist at all, or they, because they're ashamed of it, or because they're neutral towards it? Because like I also like don't think we should be raising our kids in like such a sexually inappropriate home in which like there's no boundaries, because kids deserve boundaries. Like they deserve doors. They deserve to feel like they have a choice. They deserve to choose if they want to be modest. You know what I mean? Like I don't think like, I always think about this, if I had raised kids, I wouldn't be anti-masturbation, but also I don't need to go around talking to my kids and being like, like you can keep that private, girl. Whatever you're doing in your bedroom, I support you. Just like make sure you're safe and consensual, not sharing photos with anybody, okay? Like I don't need to know, but like if my kids wanted to talk to me about it, obviously I would, support them. But like sometimes I think there's like a line where parents can get a little too in their kids' business when it comes to sex, where I'm like, hey, okay, be appropriate, at least. Be appropriate, okay? Chet says, they were like, if you ask us about it, we'll talk about it, no problem. But I never went to ask and they've never addressed it. Hey, there you go. There you go. Okay, now second video, but from a girl's perspective of the topic. She put music in this video, which is very annoying to me. So just, okay, get ready for that. I hate when they do this. Guys, stop putting music in your videos. It's annoying.
That is occurring among Gen Z women, because you guys are pushing me to the point where now I have to defend men, which is like very upsetting to me in my heart. I don't like defending men, but you guys are pushing me there and we need to have a talk about it. Okay. The new thing that women are talking about is that men are perverts inherently because they are jorking.
Okay, I don't know if these are all AI creators. Where is the person? Where are the videos? Why aren't they being tagged? All of these people that are talking about it, where is the video? Who are you talking about? Who are these women talking about this? Who are they? I don't know if this is real. I don't know if this is rage bait. Her username is anti-Republican girl boss. So part of me is like, she's a liberal, right? She's a liberal. But like, who is having this? Who is it?
In this hypothetical that people are making up in their head, that men jork it to pictures of like women they know on Instagram and like normal pictures of like fully clothed women, and that makes them like perverted freaks and this should be considered like creepy. Okay. Don't piss me off. Okay, I'm gonna have to get feministy. I'm gonna have to get libtard. Okay, I'm sorry. Stick with me. I understand
She also said libtard, which is so liberal of her. She's not progressive, right?
feminism is going in younger generations because we really just came out of an era of choice feminism. And I think what we have realized in this era right now is that sexuality, specifically female sexuality, has been imposed and created around patriarchal standards so that like it has become a tool of oppression for women. There are many aspects of female sexuality that have been imposed onto us women that might not have naturally occurred and are, you know, kind of ingrained in us as a tool of oppression, right? And I think choice feminism, the problem with that is it indiscriminately played into female sexuality to the point where you couldn't tell what was, you know, healthy and what was kind of, you might.
Sure, I think like this music is driving me crazy. I do agree that I think that when you're deconstructing, you think you've reached the next plateau and you're like, I figured it out. I know what's good. And then you start deconstructing again. You're like, oh shit. Okay, hold on. More deconstruction, introspection, extrospection. I think there's like a confusion. Like when I left my religious bubble, I thought like Playboy was liberation. Then I became a feminist and I was like, Hugh Hefner's a pervert. And then I left feminism and moved more towards progressive sex positivity. And then I was like, oh, like where's the liberation here? Like we go from like bubble to bubble, section to section, plateau to plateau, realizing that like, what is it? So we're doing it again here with this conversation. Where's the ethic, like the ethical line? How good is it or bad for it for our friend groups and our society if our friends are gooning it to us? Like, obviously, I'm going to be real with you. I do not goon to my friends. Do you know what I mean? Like, if it's friends I'm having sex with, like in my 20s, sure. But I don't think generally, like, it's not like that I haven't had a fleeting thought about someone or that I haven't had a sex dream about somebody or that like that stuff. But I don't like think about people I'm not usually like flirting with or at least cross that line with or something has occurred. Like I just generally, I don't think my brain, I mean, it's not that like my brain again doesn't have the thoughts. It's more like the difference between the thought and thinking about it. Like, you know, I couldn't imagine a guy being like I couldn't imagine a friend of mine being like lotion, sock, tissue, picture of Brittany. I'd be like, whoa, what are you doing? Like that would feel so weird if they were like, you know, about to, you know, and then they're like, Brittany. I'm like, wait a second. I feel like that would be weird. You know what I mean? But if they were just like thinking about something and then like thoughts came into their head, like have you ever been doing it, masturbating, and a thought comes into your head that ruins the whole mood because like you're like, what is that? And then you're like, I gotta stop. I thought about something. I was like, what are you even, okay, like what is that? You know, and it's like something like you think about your mom or something, like you're busy thinking about like, oh, I should call my mom. Bro, why are you thinking about calling your mom right now, bro? Lock in. You know, it's like, okay, I ruined it for myself. You know what I mean? And then you stop and you're like, whatever, bro. You know, it's something like that. Like, sure, like your brain is literally filtering thoughts constantly. So that's fine. We get it. Or, you know, but the point is like, it's not a thought we're worried about. It's the thinking. It's the purposeful, intentional thinking, you know? Wait, Discord said, Brittany, please, the word goon gives me such misophonia. What's misophonia? Well, I should just trigger warning you then because I'm about to show you a video called The Ethics of Gooning. So you might want to get prepared. Masturbating, you know, I'm going to get demonetized. Okay, let's continue this video.
Be playing into some patriarchal, like misogynistic ideas that you need to be aware of, right? So I understand why now the wool is off of our eyes and we're like, hey, choice feminism doesn't really work. We can't just be indiscriminate about it. However, you guys have gone all the way to Puritans not being allowed to dance in the woods. You guys have gone all the way to like people shouldn't show their ankles. Because like I think you forget that humans are inherently sexual beings. But like I mean sexual. Humans in general, statistically, are inherently sexual beings. That's how we exist. We exist and have a population because we like to have sex. Okay? You and men in particular are allowed to explore feelings of sexuality and attraction in their own homes. They're allowed to do that. They have the right in their own homes and minds to get their freak on, thinking about whatever they so please. All right? Like, who among us has not gotten a little freaky thinking about a guy we know that we never end up dating, nothing ever happens, we just think he's cute and kind of have a little like fanfic in our head and like get our freak on? Like, who among us has not done that? Then you may throw the first stone. Like, are you telling me you get your rose toy and just go full tabula rasa up there? Just no thoughts, just meditative Zen flow state jorking?
I mean, sometimes, but that's not the point. Again, I think the issue is like, what are we all imagining when we have this conversation? Yeah, I think we've all fantasized about somebody we know, but what's the context of that somebody you know? And the idea that thought crimes aren't a problem is such a weird position to take when I really do think it matters, like, what you're fantasizing about. And again, strongly believe in exploring fantasies. I strongly believe in consuming sex work as long as it's ethical. Like, I totally, I'm fine with hentai. I'm fine with even like very controversial fantasies that never exist in real life, like, I don't know, tentacle porn and shit. Like, I'm fine with all of that generally, but I do think like the relationship you have to your porn matters. Okay. I do think the relationship you have to masturbation matters. I think the relationship you have to sex matters. I think the relationship we're having to all these things matters. And the question is, what is your relationship with this thing? It's not that you're having a thought. It's what does that thought represent?